Okay, I'm going to call us to order at 7:02, and everyone is present. A special night, bittersweet sorrows probably, our last formal meeting with Councilor Renadette. We'll try to be good to him through the evening, I'm sure we will. One of the first order of business in a work session is an opportunity for public comment. And Ms. Blake,
Can I just sit here?
you may do that if you would like.
I just wanted to ask if you got any,
Turn it on, Tom.
can you hear me? They can hear me, I
No,
speak
turn it
loud.
on so it-
No, it's gotta be recorded.
They can hear me. That can hear me. If you got any feedback from Debbie about backup documents being sent to Dave Kimmel so he can put them online, because they haven't been yet.
Yeah. We did discuss that, and we have to, I think, a little more, which we will following this meeting. Some of the concern has been what is draft, what is, in fact, we have a resolution tonight with a very important document, a Teamster agreement that I got in its final form this morning. So some of that is an issue, but I did share with Debbie that anything we have that we're able to put in the packet should be there as well. And maybe it's gonna be, some change of habits, or I don't know what, to begin to do that. And she indicated to me she was sending to him. Now, some of the documents we have may not be in electronic format, so that'll be the issue. Do we scan it, put it up there, and, if it's a page or two, it's a no-brainer. If it's a thick packet, then...
Once in a while, something does come through. I mean, it's not that
Not
nothing
totally
comes through, but
void,
once in a
right,
while, something
yeah.
comes through. I don't mean to be argumentative, but you might be able to check with council. Even if it's in draft, it then is considered a document according to
Well, it is.
FOIL.
And some of what Debbie was doing is because it was a draft, she felt, until we
Yeah.
act on it, and then after we act on it, put it up after the meeting.
Sure.
Which is why it wasn't getting there, prior. And there's some logic to that, I guess, that we don't want to, send the draft form, we want to send the final version, because until the board acts on it. But we had that discussion.
Okay.
I will, don't hesitate to let me know any particular thing. I mean, I honestly don't look at that, so I wouldn't know.
It's just sometimes, it says as attached, and then you go,
There's no attachment, yeah. Well,
okay.
we had that discussion earlier. Tom is concerned there's a draft resolution for our first meeting in 2015. And it's actually Mr. Kimmel Services Agreement, and there's nothing attached. Well, I don't have it. And that happens sometimes, that we've got these in place, especially if it's a work session, and we've got it out there Friday. My anticipation is by Monday night, I'll have the document. Usually I do, but not always. And that was my comment tonight. If we don't have the attachment by the time January 5th comes, that resolution won't make it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where some of the missing teeth are too, in a work session. But that shouldn't be in a regular meeting's agenda, because by then it should all be there. In a work session, the attachment may still be works in progress, hoping to finish it from
Well, I think there's some things on the table tonight that just came like at the 11th hour.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's getting to
So,
be
I mean,
regular.
obviously, that's not gonna be there.
And a lot of the stuff, I assume the draft packet for the January 5 meeting got uploaded. And any attachments there, I don't have any.
No. there's
I
nothing.
think one of the other things that goes on, we try to process stuff, and I think we do a good job of moving stuff through in a very timely fashion. If we waited until we had all the documentation in line, so that, it could all be, sent off to go online and et cetera, we would be functioning as a lot of municipal entities do function, where there's a much longer time process. You can bring that in, but it really won't get acted upon for so many days down the road because, And that's recognizing that, you know, there's this time process that everybody has to follow. We try not to get hung up in that if we can. I mean, if we're in a position where we can, you know, take something in, it comes in on a Monday morning, and we want to really move it, we try to move it.
I get caught on that sometimes, and I'm trying to slow down because I just want to get it done. It's important because when we're done, things happen after us, and as Marty said, if we don't do it, nothing happens. And that's why there have been times, and especially a work session, but sometimes at a regular meeting, we have some conversations that may appear like the left hand didn't know what the right was doing. And, you know, many times I've said after, I wish I had waited one more week till I had everything put together.
Well, you probably nobody on the board looks at the minutes online. For example, you know, you'll have something that'll say as attached, but that's not ever online. So if you go to get minutes online, you'll read the resolution, no attaches, and then you have to FOIL the attached.
Well, the other
I
thing.
mean, you could do hundreds of those, you know.
The other thing that happens sometimes with that, and we've tried to keep things moving along and cut back on, you know, paper and duplicating, especially duplicating, it's expensive. Debbie will many times in a work session have the attachment stuff. Maybe sometimes we don't even have the resolution, but we got the meat there. And then if we agree that's going to go forward at the regular meeting after the work session, we'll have a resolution, but she won't duplicate the attachment again.
So you don't have it.
And now and then I put on my own notes in case someone here says, Bernie, I don't have the attachment. Well, you had it at the work session, bring it forward. It just saves duplicating. And if there's some attachments are rather lengthy, something we did discuss in a work session, we act on it at the meeting, the resolution will say as attached, but the attachment's not there. Bring it forward with your notes. That would be a trip up, but if now I'm just looking at the online version, there's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
So maybe we need to reference that certain attached, boy, I don't know how. I'll think there needs to be a way to clarify that for people.
I'm not sure,
certain
you know, I don't really know how it
attachments
works,
would be
but
in
if
the
she gives you a packet of attachments, I don't know if that's done online, but certainly it's not very hard to, you know, combine those in an Adobe Acrobat and send them to Dave and ask him to put them online.
It isn't, but it's another task to go back, now grab it with the resolution, and some days we just run out of time. But that's another one where I know, any of the documentation that we talked about in the work session would not be duplicated when we launch it for the meeting. That's a big one we would miss every
But
time.
excuse me, Bernie, but if we've launched it with the work session notes, if it was put on
It's
work
online.
session, it's just easy, because it's already there. Just put it on again. Because you're not duplicating anything in paper, it's just.
No, it would just be electronic to make sure and go back,
Sure.
grab it, and put it with the
Make sure
launching
Dave-
for
Make
the
sure
regular
Dave has
session.
it on with the meeting.
And
Yeah.
the other part to it is if we're looking at the minutes, and Ricky and I have had a couple of conversations about minutes over the last couple of months, because that's where I was going to kind of get a lot of the back information to things, you know, and you have to kind of sift through it to make your points of connection, that you could certainly have your minutes and minimally have another link right below it referencing those are the attachments. So if you have to see attached, you could go to a separate link, but at least they're in a tree format directory of,
Sure.
here's the minutes, here's the attachments that were adopted as it relates to those particular minutes.
Yeah, that's definitely doable, but it's going to take some time, it really does. And
Of course, you know,
So is it
if it's online and it's electronic already, then if it's not there, then it's inefficient to have someone else, Ricky, have to go and search it out, and he may not even have the
No, that's not
attachment,
good.
and, you know, and
I
on
really
and
think
on.
the easy way, we need to try and remember, and I've never had this discussion, but it makes a lot of sense now. When we have for example, we would often have the department reports at a work session, and then for the regular meeting, you just have the resolution. Well, we bring those forward, and we get to operational, right? So what she'll need to do is simply copy that and drag it in to make sure it goes with it.
If that were
That
happening,
won't be hard.
if that were happening, you know, I wouldn't be using paper.
Hello.
I would be using what's on the
Like that.
website.
Right, and
But the
that's,
website, you know, I found
It's
the
not
website.
complete.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was,
no, I agree.
yeah.
and that's
we
what I'm
can
using with
improve
my
that.
email.
We
You
can
know,
improve
I try to reference things, and I've gone online and
Yep.
stuff like that during the meetings. One of my suggestions is if we were to ratify Dave's contract in 2015, we might invite him to a work session to try to systemize a number of things with the website that helps us to better address some of those things, because he's the person with the tech knowledge on his end of what he needs to get from Ricky or Debbie or us to make that a little bit cleaner.
Yeah. Well, we've never done that. We've kind of, flown by the seat of our pants with the common knowledge we have to do something. And maybe we're at that point, we need to just have him show Deborah how to,
Well, what
Make
he's
that
done,
work.
he's done for the minutes since Mike and I talked about it. He logs in to my computer on Wednesday, every Wednesday now, and he goes and takes everything that's in the board minutes and puts it online. Everything that I have, that Debbie sent me, so it's up there, even all of the add-ons and everything, the backup documents are all together now. So we've already done that.
but when she sends to you a regular meeting, and I think a good example is the one for department reports, when it's the regular meeting, the
Right.
report, if we had it in the work session, isn't there.
No, it's not.
And that's the one we've got to, and that wouldn't be hard, because it's in the folder, we just drag it over, and then when she uploads it, you upload everything. We can fix that, the lights are going on a little bit. We
Mr.
can do
Mannix
that.
brought up a very good point about using the website.
Yeah.
Did not the people of the state of New York just vote yes on a proposition to do electronic in the assembly?
Yep.
No more, paper bills, it's going to be electronic and so on and so forth. I mean, he brought up a very good point there.
We're gonna all get iPads.
Right.
We have to have the hard drive.
Yeah,
Make it work, you've gotta have the hard.
I want paper.
I
I can't
You
read
can
that.
print it
I
out.
can't read that.
You can
concept.
tell me.
Tom, you drive a Prius.
excuse me, save a tree.
Seriously.
But that's where I'm driving, with having David come in, is that we need to take an integrated approach to this. We need to have some conversations, and some expertise. And, I think, Mike's comment and a couple other things that we're putting out there is, let's experiment with some things and see if we can come to, some new opportunities.
Yeah, well, I'll set that up with Dave, duly noted.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's good, I mean, we need to keep pecking at it and we'll improve it. Tom?
You might be able to use a line on the posting, because, minutes, blah, blah, blah. Just have attachments for this meeting, and everything gets sucked into there, and then you don't have to worry about trying to tag it to this resolution or this other piece.
That would be
Yeah,
another,
that's
yeah,
a
but if we
technical thing.
can, I'd like it to be sequential for people that go there, rather than have them have to, and I think we can work that out, and if we need to, we'll bring Dave, and I think ultimately we need to kind of bring Dave and say, let's talk about where we are, where we'd like to be, and now's the time to change in our tech support and so on. Good ideas. Any other comments? Then I'll move the agenda because we have a special dinner this evening.
Yay.
Jeez.
Where are we going?
Mickey D's
Sort
son.
of in response to, very much to what we've been discussing, we've got a draft, Tom brought this forward last work session, and a little bit of consolidate and save. Of having one resolution for the monthly department reports. And my immediate concern as I thought through that was, again, in the operation, if I get a report from a department head, we do a resolution. If I don't get a report, we don't do a resolution, all right? If we put them all on one resolution, what do? For example, our historian hasn't done a formal written report, I don't think, for the last couple of months. What would we do? And then the more I thought about that, it didn't take long, I realized by having this resolution with all departments, we're going to be more cognizant of departments that maybe didn't do a report this month. And I began to like the idea. So we took what Tom suggested and we put it in this format. And I've queued, for lack of any greater wisdom, anytime we don't have a report, we just put NR, no report. And for example, we had a supervisor's report that we didn't have for the month of, I think, November or December, because the Harris operating and so on. So now the next month, I may have two. Well, I'm catching up, I didn't get it in time, you were sick, who cares? We'll make a note there with a couple asterisks that there are multiple reports. But I think this gives us a nice track record. Department head meeting this month, I brought this forward to the department heads and let them know what we were doing, including the court, and told all of them one of the positive outcomes of this is it was going to make us a little more attentive to who's got a report and who's not reporting. And we discussed the value of that, the importance. For example, the court was a little concerned, what do we have to report? So, well, we might like to know the number of cases each judge has. We might like to be knowledgeable of the revenue that the court generated that month. We might want to be knowledgeable if you had a security issue, or, you know, tell us, I mean, you know what no report says? Nothing went on. And we all know better than that. So, at least in front of me, they kind of embraced the idea. So we'll see what happens, but we are ready to institute this with our first meeting in January. Now, the tougher nuance is department heads need to get their monthly report to us and this gets right back to what we were talking about, to us for the first work session, so we would have it in the second regular meeting. And for some of them, they thought that could be a challenge. Said, well, then you'll be late. And the next month, we'll always be a month, staggered. But for us, in other words, to have a report for the month of December, we have to have it at the first work session, so we have it at the second regular. That should be plenty of lead time. Otherwise, it's going to be a 2-month-old report. So that's the plan. There might be some wrinkles. We'll get them out and go from there. Now, the other concern was, what if there are comments? If there are comments, we'll make comments on, whatever reports are in there. Sometimes there are, sometimes there aren't. And we can still do that for each individual department. So, Tom, I think this could play out to be something of value. So thank you for sharing that idea.
It's gonna also say a tree.
A branch at least.
Or
No,
two.
a branch.
Any other thoughts or comments on that? Next is the organizational meeting resolutions. This is just the resolutions. Please look through those. Hopefully, we've copied and pasted appropriately. Every now and then, we may have missed the year. It could be a committee person that isn't right. Look them over, let us know. We've got some time, but not another meeting before this one. And we will make the changes.
And the committee assignments, I like that you love me, that you bolded me on the finance committee, but I don't really need to be bolded.
You are.
It just jumps right off the page.
Town board committees, I don't see that on mine. In fact, I don't even see finance committee.
I'll show it to you afterwards.
Oh, yeah, that's right there. I
What-
thought,
what am I
you know,
not
but,
seeing?
oh, we're pointing out that we're giving you
No,
more
on
work.
the actual resolution itself.
Oh. Okay. She might have done that because it was new.
Yeah.
23. Okay. Next is the NYMER findings. The reason I gave you this is I wanted to make sure everyone was aware. They do their annual risk control review. And
But this is all.
I was quite pleased with their findings. I mentioned that to some of you, I think, before. We have a report from our Director of Parks Recreation. It's very, very, very simple restitution. But when I think of the number of places and items, it could be procedures, safety kinds of issues, I think this was a very, very good report.
Yeah.
And the number of accidents and injuries on the job are very few, considering everything these guys do, and ladies, so. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure you saw that. I believe it's a very good report. Moving right along, you have, Deborah put these all under draft, but we have our minutes from the previous meeting. They have been submitted by our clerk. And then we have 3 resolutions noted, and the 4th one that I would like to bring forward. We do need to pass an abstract just to get the final bills paid for the end of the year. That has been reviewed. Resolution 406, abstract 12C.
Resolved that the abstract amount of the claims number 12C-14, 2372 to 2457 for $296,430.79. And abstract 12C-14, 489,503 prepays in the amount of $114,331.45. Be received as reviewed by the audit committee and the supervisors hereby authorized to pay said application.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadek, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman. Any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Michael
Yes.
Capson, Gerard Renadek.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Next is resolution 407, Regal Cinemas license application.
Whereas to comply with the town of Plattsburgh codes and zoning laws, Regal Cinemas has applied for a license to conduct and operate a cinema known as Regal Cinemas located in Champlain Center North in the town of Plattsburgh. Whereas said application was applied and received with a license fee of $500, and whereas the code department has completed their inspection and has found Regal Cinemas to be in compliance with all local laws and New York State regulations and codes. Therefore be resolved to receive and place on file an applicant for the license to conduct and operate Regal Cinemas. And it is further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue said license for a period of January 1, 2015 through December 31st, 2015.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second. Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Delighted to see that both Regal and Cinema 12 are in compliance, and we don't have a problem to worry about.
Yeah, get it done in a timely fashion. The inspections were done prior, but we did receive the checks, so here we go.
Good.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Michael Capson.
Yes.
Gerard Renadek.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 408, Cumberland 12 Cinemas license application.
Whereas to comply with the town of Plattsburgh codes and zoning laws, Cumberland 12 Cinemas has applied for a license to conduct and operate a cinema known as Cumberland 12 Cinemas, located in the town of Plattsburgh at 18 North Bowl Lane, Route 9. And whereas the said applicant was applied and received with the license a fee of $500, and whereas the codes department has completed their inspection and found Cumberland 12 Cinemas to be in compliance with all local laws and New York State regulations and codes. Now therefore be resolved to place on file the applicant for the license to conduct and operate cinema, Cumberland 12 Cinemas. And it be further resolved, the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue said license for a period from January 1, 2015 through December 31st, 2015.
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Michael Capson.
Yes.
Gerard Renadek.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Next, you had a draft for the Teamsters Local 687 bargaining unit contract, which is the actual document that is inclusive of the terms and conditions of the MOU, as well as a rolling over of anything prior that was not addressed or changed. I would like to call this one Resolution 409 and bring it to the table for action. Resolution 409, Teamsters Local 687 bargaining unit contract.
I don't have the paper on that.
It might have been in the draft pile, if not.
You want it, Ricky?
I know I've got a couple in my red folder.
Here.
Okay, this is 409. It's not in the draft? Okay.
Yes, it is.
It is?
It is?
It's right here. Glad you read it.
We already got it down.
I go through all the papers all the time, whatever we get from one and then the next one. Compare them all.
Oh,
Yes,
wait,
Lieutenant.
excuse me, just a second. This is-
I'm not seeing
Some
a larger
people
copy.
don't have
I'm
it.
not seeing it anywhere. Oh, there we go, right toward the end.
Is it?
Oh, it's because it's in between two of the.
Yeah,
Is it mixed in with
it's,
2015?
mine's about 5 or 6 pages from the back.
Yeah.
In 2015?
Yes,
Okay. Sorry, it
We
isn't
found
in
it.
the red folder.
right in the back.
I take mine apart.
It's not a sequence.
That's our excuse.
Okay,
Sticking to it.
go ahead, Rick.
Is it,
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh and Teamsters Local 687, the recognized bargaining unit for certain employees in the town of Plattsburgh, have entered into a contract agreement that expired December 31st, 2014. Whereas the parties to said contract is desirous to enter into a new agreement, and whereas Resolution 14-376 Memorandum of Understanding between Teamsters Local Bargaining Unit 687 and the town of Plattsburgh was passed and has been incorporated into the attached agreement. Whereas a new contract has been agreed upon by the town of Plattsburgh and Teamsters Local 687 as indicated by the agreement attached and was duly effective 1/1/2015 with expiration date 12/31/2016. Now therefore be resolved that said agreement be executed by the union representative, Bernard C. Bassett, the supervisor, and members of the town board for the town of Plattsburgh. And to be further resolved that a copy be given to the finance manager and union representative.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix. Now, if you would take a look at your agreement, since this came to us, there are a couple of changes that need to be made. They're really clerical in nature. If you look on page 21 of the agreement, that would be Article 26. Under Section 2, it talked about the effective date of the insurance plans, and they're noted as effective January 1/14. It should be 1/1/15. Each of those should be effective 1/1/15. If you go ahead to page 24, Article 27, wages and longevity, begins with the job rate scale for 2015 and 2016, then it goes to Section 2. Section 1 was omitted. Section 1 should just read top job rate.
Bernie, I'm gonna ask you to repeat that. What page?
24,
On page 24.
24, Article 27.
And at the very top, it should say Section 1.
Section 1, top job rate. Section 1, colon, top job rate. If you look, it just goes right to Section 2. Section 1 is the chart, but it doesn't title it. Those were the only two errors that I found. We found, I should say.
Tom had, well,
Article 30, term of agreement, I'm
Pages,
confused about that.
the page is that?
Last one.
last one. It was,
Signature page?
it's a 2-year agreement, but after a year and a half, they have to provide notice that they want another agreement. This is a 2-year agreement, but if nothing is done, we'll just keep going.
Have we done that in the past? I don't recall
I think that's the
that we
same
say,
as-
okay, we want to renegotiate in 6 months.
Well, somebody has to open negotiations or nothing changes.
Yeah.
And this
Well,
was,
it does change. I mean, even though,
Well, this agreement will stay in place for 2 years. If somebody wants to change it after a year and a half, they give us notice. At the end of the agreement, we want to negotiate a new agreement.
The idea with that is not to wait until it terminates and then say we'd like to discuss this. So we get it done a little like we did this year and we've done in the past. To begin early, we began our discussions, I think, somewhere around the month of June this past time. We were a little late.
So the language that's there, if no one, if we got within 6 months of the termination of the agreement, and neither party had indicated, had served a notice that they wished,
To open
that they
negotiations.
wished to open negotiations, it would automatically continue for another year.
Roll over.
Correct, yeah.
A little like Taylor law,
Yeah,
So the part that continues is.
terms and conditions. Salaries will be as they are.
Yeah.
But obviously, if it were 4 months, I mean, either party can agree to a change. The intent is you're going to do it in sufficient time to get a new agreement in place before the expiration of this.
But the purpose is
Ernie.
you'll always have an agreement.
Bernie, this says
It
6
says
months.
6 months, that's right.
So it doesn't become, you don't say, oh, 4 months, you know, the
But
6
if,
months doesn't apply. If it's 6 months and we haven't said that we wanted to go to the table, and they haven't said they want to go to the table, it rolls over.
Well, not necessarily, if both.
it doesn't have to.
Parties can mutually agree to anything. If both, say like the 2 months before, if they said, oh, we forgot, we didn't have it on our checklist, we want to negotiate, if Bernie wants to negotiate, then he could, he wouldn't have to. But if both, parties can mutually agree to anything that's not, say, illegal or unconscionable.
I mean, the intent is to get the parties to sit down in a timely fashion, and the other intent is, in the event even if you started 7 months early and you're unable to come to an agreement, this stays in force.
Right.
That's the intent of that. It's not to force somebody, to count down and you missed the deadline and now you're stuck with
That's not what
this.
it says.
That is what it says.
No, it doesn't. This agreement shall continue for a year thereafter unless notice is given. So if the notice is given, then it doesn't continue.
Right,
And if you haven't reached an agreement by December 31st, 2016, then what happens?
You have this
You-
agreement.
The contract still made.
No, you don't. It doesn't say that.
Well, and any court, any judge is going to tell you this is in force until something is placed.
It says, the agreement shall continue from every year thereafter unless notice is provided no less than 6 months
But
prior.
it doesn't
to
say
the
if you
term.
don't settle the previous agreements terminated. You'd have
That's
chaos in
what
the
it
streets.
says.
Tom's making a very good point.
That's what it says.
That's not how contracts,
No.
Well, I can't accept this under this
oh
circumstance.
my God, well, what do you want there then? I mean, that's ridiculous. What do you want?
It's not ridiculous.
What do you want?
If the agreement,
This is boilerplate language. It's used in
I think
agreements
this is fine.
everywhere.
the contract has to, the contract stays in force. I mean, we can't change anything. Can't change insurance coverage or anything unless it's mutually agreed after that period of time. Okay, they're saying here that, you can continue unless notice is
Well,
provided.
give me an example of how you think it would work, how it would work to anybody's disadvantage.
I'll have to think about it. See, that's the problem. You just got this.
But what it is basically you come to an agreement and they say the agreement will continue from year to year unless notice is given. So I'm sure they're going to give notice, and the union will come in, say 6 months, maybe 9 months before, and say we want to negotiate. The contractor of the town could do the same. What we're saying, if nobody gives notice, they forget or whatever, then this will just continue for the next year.
But where does it say that if they give the notice, the agreement shall continue from year to year? It's supposed to continue after that, if there isn't any notice, or if there is a notice. Doesn't make any difference if we haven't concluded negotiations.
Right. If we have to conclude negotiation, then we'll have to end contract. So,
Our labor specialist would probably tell us that in the event, if you have a negotiated agreement, and in any event you're unable to settle it, the agreement in force continues.
Right.
Again, that's Taylor law stuff. We don't need to recite that, and that's the way it is.
If you can't come to a new agreement, it's not like it's, nobody has a contract, they still have this contract.
Otherwise, nobody go to work, nobody be paid, they work whatever hours they want.
This contract stays until you renegotiate a new one.
Well, I've seen specific parts taken out before and saying, hey, you didn't, this is what you agreed to, and it wasn't what we meant.
That's been the past
So-
practice since there's been negotiations.
I think that.
We've had that happen more than once.
I think the main benefit from this clause being in there, Tom, is that if the union doesn't express their interest to enter into negotiations at least 6 months in advance of the end of the contract, we can say to them, we have no intentions of paying you retroactive because you did not meet the terms of the contract. They could come to us 2 months before the end of the contract, and the main sticking point of their agreement would be, we want to be paid retroactive. But they don't start negotiating until after the end of the contract. We'd be held hostage for retroactive every time we negotiate a contract. This gives us the opportunity to say then, we want to negotiate in ample time so that we have a contract moving forward into the next budget year.
Well, I totally agree with that, and I understand that. I'm just worried about the one.
But I think the rest of the language has been there since forever. I think that like Bernie has said, he's absolutely right. The contract stays in force. The contract that was passed always stays in force until a new contract is agreed upon.
Understand, that's just like, if you have a lease, usually you could have that, it'll roll over to the next year.
So in your opinion, it would still roll over,
No,
even
they-
though this language says that it's only if we have 6 months' notice.
No, this will roll over if we can't get if they don't give us notice or we can't come to some type.
All right.
Those are the changes that I had, as I said, we don't have to execute it tonight. We'll simply start the year without an agreement, and the third one would roll over. But I'd like to, nothing's gonna change that I'm aware of, end it.
And
This
for what it's worth, I'm comfortable with the terms of this agreement. I think it puts into effect what was negotiated by our professional negotiator and with the union. It meets with what everybody agreed upon. I think that to delay it would serve no purpose.
Any other
It
discussion?
is exactly what we looked at before,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of all the provisions.
Yeah.
Yep, with the two clerical
dates,
corrections that
Yeah.
Bernie pointed out.
Okay, so any minor things of spelling and stuff like that, you wouldn't really have to worry about.
Well, those are just typos, really. You can catch a typo anytime and correct it. Doesn't change the language or intent of the agreement. If you're changing the language or the intent of the agreement,
Yeah.
then you've got to, have a formal action. Punctuation, you want to get hung up on that stuff. Not to minimize it, but it's no reason to hold it up. Any other discussion? Roll call as amended.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Passion.
Yes.
George Renza.
Yes.
And Bernie Bell.
Yes, resolution carries. I've separated the 2 pages for board members to sign. I'd like to start those with Gerard, if you can just work them down, get them to me, and I will merge them back with the document. The next ones we have are drafts, and we have a classic
Oh, okay.
example. We have the request to attend a conference, which has an attachment that Debbie would not normally move forward when we actually act on that, because you're getting it today. So that's something I gotta make sure she electronically moves forward. And then the next one
Is
as
that one that
well.
we're considering for January 5th?
Yes, that would be on the January 5th, that's the date on that. And the next one, you don't have the resolution even. She's just made available to you the 3% construction deposit request for refund. And the way we've been doing this, when you get the resolution January 5th, you would be expected to have already had the attachment and move it forward. So we will have to merge those for the January 5th agenda that gets launched.
The conference in Lake Placid, that's the one that they normally go
Yeah,
to, and this
yeah.
is where they get the needed hours that they're required to have to maintain their license.
That's a big part of it, yes.
So I think
The
that's
information,
an
the
important
networking, oh, that's a big one,
And it's close by, so
yes.
one of the least expensive ones.
And our Justices have recommended the reappointment of their clerks, and you've got one for our deputy town historian. Wanted to note earlier, I guess I didn't, Melissa Facto has been volunteering with Jerry. As you know, our deputy has, due to health reasons, had resigned some time ago. She wasn't sure she wanted to fill the position. I'm extremely glad she is. She's very dedicated. I think you probably all have met her, et cetera, and will do an outstanding job. And I'll just remind, just for the record, the deputy historian position is not compensated. There are times when there may be a function and we have the deputy in attendance, we would pay for their attendance at the function, but it's not a position that has any compensation as far as salary. So those are drafts separate from the other. I have a couple other things that didn't quite make it there. I'm terribly guilty on not getting things to make the agenda, and I have a rather nice-looking proclamation this evening that I would like to read for the record and for our friend Councilor Gerard A. Renadette. This is titled Proclamation of Recognition. Whereas Mr. Gerard A. Renadette was first elected to office to serve the town of Plattsburgh as a councilman in 1996, and whereas Mr. Renadette held the office of councilman from 1996 to 2002, and again from 2002 to 2014, for a total of 15 years in that position. And if I'm wrong, please let me, I'm wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, great. We'll correct the files.
All right.
I should have known. See me later, I guess we'll redo this.
I did a lot of bouncing around.
Goodness.
And still do.
And still do. And whereas the town board wishes to recognize the hard work and loyalty of Mr. President and to thank him for his dedication, commitment, and integrity during the period of time he served the town as a councilman. And whereas it is appropriate to acknowledge when an individual demonstrates a high level of devotion to his community, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board declares that Mr. Gerard A. Renadette be recognized for his service to the Town of Plattsburgh and for serving in a manner that exhibited a high moral conviction and ethical behavior, I had to get that word in, that always placed public service and the municipality first while remaining a dedicated colleague to those he worked and governed with. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor and councilors in attendance wish Mr. Renadette well in his future endeavors and present him with his heartfelt commendation for his years of service to the town of Plattsburgh. We have one other small memento of our
Well, that
personal.
doesn't mean that we're not.
Under $75, I hope.
McDonald's.
This is not a gift.
You're still going to the low,
I paid for it.
I have a plaque that I would read as well, that we will be giving Mr. Renadette. It says, Gerard Renadette, in appreciation of your many years of service as town councilor for the town of Plattsburgh, 12/22/14. And I was smart enough not to put how many years in this, because correcting that would be more costly.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Very much.
You're very welcome. And lastly, when we're done, we're going to take this fine young man, our colleague, out to dinner with us to share some.
Well, thank you very much. I wrote down a few notes because I didn't want to get the dates wrong, but I was first elected in 95 to start serving in 96, re-elected in 97 to start serving in 98, re-elected in 2001 to start in 2002, and I had to put this in there, defeated in 2005, re-elected in 2006, re-elected in 2009, I was appointed in 2011 because of retirement, graciously by this board. I was elected in 2011 because I ran for the term that you appointed me to, and my term was extended in 14, and I was again appointed in 2014. So I was elected 3 times, re-elected 3 times, appointed twice, and extended once.
Little wonder, that's not in your file.
For how many, how
And there was
many
no
years?
partridge in a pear
And
tree.
extended once for a couple of
So
months.
how many years did you serve altogether?
Altogether, at the end of this year, 18.
That's what I thought.
18 years, all right.
So, and during that time, while I was on the board, we brought water to Cumberland Head, and we brought water to Plattsburgh, the south end of Plattsburgh, underneath the Saranac River. The Bank Road Industrial Park was created. The complete former Air Force Base was reused from, we started out, first thing I remember out there was a fish concert, which created a hell of a mess. And then the last piece of property was turned over, I believe, this past year. Consolidation of several of our districts, cell tower law and the adult use law, which have benefited the town immensely. I've met 4 governors. I shook hands with a New York State Senator who later became Secretary of State, and have served during the term of 3 different U.S. congressmen, David O.B. Martin, John McHugh, and Bill Owens, just to name a few. There's others that I've missed, and for them I apologize, but it's been a memorable 18 years. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I appreciate the confidence that the voters placed in me, and I hope that I have served them well. So, thank you, and thank you all.
And again, it's certainly,
One more thing, I'm very encouraged by our newest counselor-elect. It's encouraging to see young people getting involved in politics. Too many of us old horses have been around long enough, no offense, Marty, but, you know,
Just point it out.
we need to rely on fresh ideas and young blood, so I'm encouraged.
yeah, it is good, it's very good, and we all appreciate that. One other thing Gerard didn't mention, and I used the word ethical in there, he really grabbed hold of some issues. One was the Board of Ethics, and the fact that our board hadn't met in years and many of the appointees had deceased, and nothing had happened. And worked hard to make that work for us and to keep that group functioning and organized and active. And we all appreciate that and look forward to you continuing in some role. But it has been good. It's been a good run, and we've seen a lot of change and help that change take place, as you indicated.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Anyone else have any other further comments, or are we going to get going out to dinner here pretty soon?
I just want to make a comment, as I served, a long number of those years with Jerry, and Jerry he's been a marvelous person to work on this board with, and even though we don't always see eye to eye, we're 2 people who can talk to each other and reason things out, and Jerry, you've been a marvelous counselor, and you have been a person who has certainly had the best interests of the people in the town of Plattsburgh at all times first.
Thanks, Mark.
I think he's been very active counselor too, because he's been in on certain negotiations and trying to get things set up. And
Ambulance committee?
in every committee that I've been on, he has, I don't know where he takes these copious notes, but he always has everything down exactly the way it was. I relied on him for many times. So it was fun and enjoyable working with you.
I said a couple things last time, but I'll just say 2 things quick that I think Jerry has that I think are incredibly valuable. And he's not intimidated, and he's funny.
In which way?
I want to echo a couple comments really quickly. I certainly haven't spent as much time on the board with you, but one of the things that I'm very appreciative of anybody that's a public servant that's willing to give of themselves, the time and energy to also mentor individuals. I'm appreciative of that, and one of the examples that I'd like to use is the bi-weekly audit. To take that assignment means coming in on the weekend, usually many hours. We wouldn't always see each other, but sometimes we were 2 ships passing, and I think the amount of time that you took to take on some extra assignments, to provide information to me, again, as Marty stated, we didn't always agree, but to be challenged, to be given history from a different perspective and things, was very encouraging, so thank you very much for your service.
You're welcome.
It's one thing we're unanimous on.
And even though we didn't agree, he did change my mind a few times.
With that said, I also want to a little more formally work our work sessions into the process of having a motion to adjourn and doing a roll call on that as well. So if I can get a motion to adjourn this evening.
So move.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Renedick. And roll call all in favor indicates so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we will stand adjourned at 7:53.